stood in the driveway staring at the empty space where my car used to be. My dream car. The one I had spent 6 years saving for, working double shifts, skipping vacations, saying no to everything unnecessary just so I could afford it. I had bought it with pride, with my own hands, without asking my parents for a single penny. And now it was gone. Sold. My mother came out of the house first, wiping her hands on a towel, avoiding my eyes. My father followed her, slower, like he knew I was moments away from exploding. All I could do was whisper, "Where is my car?" My father sighed heavily, the kind of sigh meant to make me feel guilty before he even started speaking. "We had to sell it," he said. "Your sister needed the money." I froze. "For what?" "For her healing," my mother answered quickly. "She's been going through a lot emotionally. She needed a retreat, a wellness therapy program. It's very expensive, but she deserves it. She deserves it." I repeated. "That car was mine. I bought it. With my money." My father frowned like my words were unreasonable. "Family is more important than material things. Your sister needed help." I felt something sharp twist in my chest. "You didn't even ask me. You wouldn't have agreed," my mother said softly, as if that justified everything. "You're right," I said. "I wouldn't have agreed. Because you just stole from me." "It's not stealing," my father snapped. "You're part of this family. Money and things belong to the family. You should be grateful we trust you to contribute." I stared at him, stunned by the arrogance in his voice. They didn't see me as a person. They saw me as a resource. A backup wallet. A tool. And I realized it wasn't the first time. My sister had always been the center of attention, the fragile one who needed support, care, and financial rescues. Every crisis she created became my responsibility to fix, emotionally, financially, even socially. And I had let it happen for years. But selling my car without asking. That was the moment something inside me cracked. "I want my money," I said firmly. "All of it." My mother looked offended. "We already paid the program deposit. It's non-refundable. And the rest?" I asked. "We'll pay you back slowly," my father said. "Don't make this into a big issue." A laugh slipped out of me. A cold one. "You sold my car. Without permission. And you're telling me not to make this a big issue." My father's voice hardened. "Don't raise your tone. Your sister needs this. Be supportive for once." "For once," I repeated. "I've supported her my whole life." My father shook his head. "You're overreacting. You have a good job. You can buy another car later. So your logic is that I should sacrifice everything because I can recover faster than her?" I asked. "Yes," he said simply. "That's what family does." "No," I said quietly. "That's what you expect me to do. Not anyone else. Just me." That evening I sat alone in my room staring at the now useless set of car keys in my hand. My phone buzzed with messages from my sister. She had no shame, no guilt, no hesitation. She sent photos of the retreat center, soft pastel rooms, massage tables, herbal baths, fancy meals. She even wrote, "Thanks sis. I knew you'd understand." I felt tears burning in my eyes, but they didn't fall. Something stronger pushed them back. Resolve. I opened my laptop and pulled up every bill I had ever paid for my family, emergencies, loans, repairs, tuition fees, hospital fees. I calculated the total. The number was enormous. They didn't just use me once. They used me repeatedly. And they assumed I would never stop letting them. But this time was different. This time, they took something from me that mattered. Something I built from nothing. Something I loved. And I knew, in that moment, I wasn't going to let it end like this. If they wanted to treat me like a resource, fine. I would show them what happens when the resource walks away. I closed my laptop, took a deep breath, and made a decision that would change everything. I was done being used. I was done being the good child. I was done being silent. This time, the revenge would be quiet, calculated, and unforgettable. The week after my parents sold my dream car felt like walking around with an invisible hole in my chest. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of the years I had spent saving for it, the extra shifts, the side gigs, the nights I slept barely 3 hours because I believed that someday I would sit behind the wheel of something that was finally mine. My sister Alyssa, meanwhile, floated around the house with smug entitlement, acting like the world owed her everything simply because she cried whenever she didn't get what she wanted. One evening, I overheard her on the phone laughing about the whole situation. "Yeah, my parents sold her stupid car," she said casually. "She'll get over it. She always does. Besides, I needed this. Healing doesn't pay for itself." Her tone wasn't sad, traumatized, or recovering from anything. It was manipulative, calculated. She enjoyed the power she held over them. And over me. That was the moment something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to get over it this time. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. I had been responsible, hardworking, and loyal, yet they treated me like a tool to be used whenever Alyssa wanted something shiny. They didn't deserve my kindness or my silence. I quietly started planning my exit. The first thing I did was look through all the emails, receipts, and paperwork from when I had bought my car. Thankfully, I had kept everything. I discovered something interesting. When my parents sold my car, they had done it illegally. My name was the only name on the title. They didn't have the legal right to sell it. They had forged my signature. Shock hit me like cold water. And then, slowly, a powerful sense of control washed over me. For the first time, I had undeniable proof, not just of their favoritism, but of a crime. They crossed a line they had no idea existed. I didn't tell them what I found. Instead, I saved the documents and met with a lawyer. I explained the situation calmly, though inside I was trembling with a mix of anger and fear. The lawyer didn't hesitate. This is a clear-cut case. They forged your signature and sold your property. You have every right to sue for damages, and more. A plan formed in my mind. A quiet, strategic, devastating plan. But before I executed it, I needed to know something. I needed to know how deep their betrayal went. I confronted my parents one evening in the living room. They were watching TV, relaxed and comfortable, while I had spent days burning with injustice. Why did you sell my car? I asked, my voice steady but cold. My mom sighed dramatically, like I was being unreasonable. Sweetie, Alyssa needed help. You know her emotional health is fragile. My father didn't even look away from the screen. Don't act like it was a big sacrifice. It was just a car. Family comes first. Family, when it suited them. And what about me? I asked. Do I come first? Do I matter? My mom gave a small shrug. You're strong. You can handle things. Your sister can't. There it was. The truth they had never said out loud. I was their workhorse. Alyssa was their fragile porcelain doll. And they would break me 1,000 times to keep her comfortable. I nodded slowly. Thank you for being honest, I said, though it wasn't gratitude, just confirmation. That night, I quietly packed my belongings. Not everything, just what mattered. Clothes, documents, savings, laptop. I booked a small studio apartment across town and moved out before sunrise. I left a short note on the kitchen counter. I am not your sacrifice anymore. The silence afterward was blissful. For the first time in my life, I felt like I owned myself. 3 days later, the consequences hit them. They received the official legal notice, a lawsuit for the illegal sale of my vehicle, compensation for emotional distress, reimbursement for financial loss, and a criminal investigation into the forged signature. My phone exploded with calls and messages. My mother hysterical. My father furious. Alyssa pretending to be the victim. Why would you do this to your own family? My mom cried in a voicemail. Undo it immediately, my dad demanded. We were helping your sister. You owe us loyalty. I didn't respond. Not yet. They had taken something from me thinking I would stay quiet. They had no idea who I was about to become. The day of the court hearing arrived faster than anyone expected. My parents walked in looking exhausted, angry, and strangely nervous. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in their eyes, not the fear of losing me, but the fear of losing control over me. Alyssa trailed behind them, her arms crossed, her face twisted into the same entitled scowl she'd worn her whole life. I didn't sit with them. I sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with my lawyer, calm and composed. I had spent years being silent, swallowing disrespect, being the strong one, simply because they assumed my feelings weren't fragile enough to matter. But now I held all the power, and not because I wanted revenge, because I finally wanted justice for myself. When the judge reviewed the documents, the room felt heavy. The forged signature alone was enough to make the case serious, but the paper trail showed a clear pattern of financial manipulation. My lawyer presented everything with icy precision, while my parents shifted uncomfortably. My father tried to defend himself first. It was a family emergency, he argued. Her sister needed help. She's always had emotional issues. We did what was best. The judge raised an eyebrow. You forged your daughter's signature on a legal document. That is a felony, not a misunderstanding. My mother jumped in, hands trembling. We thought she wouldn't mind. She's always been responsible. She understands family sacrifices. My lawyer responded calmly. My client didn't consent to having her property sold, and certainly did not consent to being financially exploited under the excuse of family. This wasn't sacrifice. This was theft. Alyssa finally snapped. This is ridiculous. It was just a car. She's being dramatic. I'm the one who needed help. The judge turned to her. You are not on trial. Your parents are. And your attitude is not helping them. For once, Alyssa went silent. After hearing all arguments, the judge ruled in my favor. My parents were ordered to compensate me fully for the car's value, pay additional damages, and undergo a formal investigation for the forged signature. They didn't go to jail, but the financial and social consequences were enough to shatter the illusion of control they held for years. The look on my father's face as the judge delivered the ruling was something I would remember forever, not because I enjoyed watching him fall, but because I finally stood up for the version of me they refused to see. When we stepped out of the courtroom, my mother rushed to me. We're your family, she begged. How could you do this? You've broken us. I looked at her with a calmness I never had before. You broke us the day you decided my dreams mattered less than Alyssa's comfort. My father tried to intimidate me, his voice low and sharp. You think this makes you strong. You're still nothing without us. But his words didn't penetrate anymore. I had heard them my whole life. Now they were just noise. No, I said. I became strong because you taught me I had no one else to rely on. Alyssa scoffed. You're just jealous. Mom and Dad love me more because I need them. You've always been too stubborn. I turned to her. No, they enabled you because you manipulated them. But now you're all on your own too. My life is no longer your safety net. With that, I walked away. Building my new life wasn't dramatic or glamorous. It was quiet, steady, and deeply freeing. My new apartment felt like a sanctuary. I bought myself a used car, not my dream car yet, but something I was proud of. I took a better paying job, built new routines, and surrounded myself with people who valued me because of my kindness, not because of what I could provide. Months passed before my father contacted me again. He asked to meet. I agreed, not out of hope, but out of closure. He sat across from me in a small cafe, his expression softer, older. I didn't realize what we were doing to you, he admitted. I always thought you were strong enough to handle anything, so I pushed you aside. I looked at him, not with anger anymore, but with clarity. Being strong doesn't mean being unimportant. You treated me like a backup plan. Like an endless resource. He lowered his gaze. I don't expect forgiveness. But I'm proud of the person you've become. It wasn't an apology that healed everything, but it was the first time he acknowledged my worth without comparing me to Alyssa. I didn't return to them. I didn't rebuild the old dynamic. I simply moved forward. My life was finally mine, my choices, my dreams, my boundaries. And that was the real revenge. Not destroying them, but freeing myself from them.